My name's Larry. I'm an addict. It's a pleasure to be able to introduce these speakers. I do know them because they're addicts like me. And believe me, I have plenty of problems with anger and recovery, and just so recently it's been relieved. And I give you this lady from Maryland. Her name is DEANNE, to share about how things are for her.
Hi everybody, my name is DEANNE. I'm an addict. And I'm not going to play it off like I'm not nervous, because I am extremely nervous. They talk about butterflies and I feel like I got a frog jumping around in my belly. It's funny because when I got the phone call to do this meeting, I was real surprised. I was honored, and I called my sponsor and I said, they left a message that they want me to speak on this meeting, anger and recovery. And she started laughing, and I started laughing, and I told another couple women in my area, and they started laughing because I'm not an angry person. I never have been. And I say, well, can I call them back and ask for like an alternative meeting? And they said no. So here, everything happens for a reason, and I guess what I can give you today is just my experience, strength, and hope with how I've dealt with situations in my life when anger arises, and maybe just ease it a little bit for any one person, or just shed some light on maybe another option of what we can do when we get angry. But this is only my experience. I didn't go into Webster's dictionary to get a definition. I didn't go, cram with the NA basic text or the how it works, how and why. Believe me, I thought of doing all those things, come up here full of information, but really, for me to be honest with you people, the best thing to do is just give you what I already have and not go try to learn something new. When I got here, I believe it was exactly when I was supposed to, not a day too soon, not a day too late. I heard a guy in this meeting earlier say he got clean when he was 17, and I thought I got clean when I was young and I was 20. In my area, there wasn't a whole lot of people that were my age, but what they did immediately was they grabbed me, they said, keep coming back. They said, you didn't get here a day too early, so stick around. I heard people telling all these war stories of drugs I never even heard of instruments I've never even heard of, language I've never even heard of. I mean, I was like, I thought street smart, but they were talking about oil joints, and I was like, what? I had no clue what they were talking about, but they said, we did it so you don't have to. And that was good enough for me. I've been fortunate that I picked up my white chip on March 5th, 1988, and I've been able to stay here ever since. When I went to my first regional convention, I sat in the audience and I said, you know what? I want to do that one day. I love speaking. I love telling my story. When I came in here, I didn't wait until I had a year clean to raise my hand. I probably raised my hand with 3 days and haven't shut up since. And I always say that because I love sharing my experience, strength, and hope. I have gotten so many blessings. I mean, what I have gotten back from sharing is more than I could ever tell you in a day. It's unbelievable. I have had more people come into my life just because of something I've said, or I don't know. It's a miracle, and I'm just grateful that God gave me the gift of gab. My mom says it happened when I started talking when I was a kid. So, and I don't know. I enjoy sharing what I've gotten to this point, because people did the same for me when I got here. Nobody just clammed up in meetings. Every meeting I went to, there was people there for me, sharing their experience, strength, and hope, and that's all I can give you today. And I've experienced a lot of little situations, or maybe at the time big situations in recovery, where I got really upset. Like for one instance, there was somebody who died it was my first boyfriend, and we were together for 2 years, and a bunch of years later I get clean and he gets diagnosed with cancer, and I saw him dying, and he was in bed in the hospice bed. They were taking care of him, and when he finally passed away, I went into my home group. It was a Sunday night meeting, and it was the first time I ever cried in a meeting. I had over 2 years clean, and I was real mad, and I was angry, and I cussed during this meeting, and I was cursing God, and I was cursing the fellowship, I was cursing the disease, I was cursing cancer. I was just angry, and there was nothing that anybody could have said or done to make me feel better. It was something I had to go through. And I believe that people have told me, we're not going to deny you your pain or your feelings. You can have them and you can do whatever you want with them, but the best thing is to do is just walk through them. And that's what I did with that particular instance. I was angry, and I got over it, but it was a grieving process that I had to go through. it's funny because when I think about anger and recovery, the thing I can relate it to the most is when people go out and use. I don't get angry at them. I get angry at this disease. It's over and over again. I've sponsored women, and I'm thinking, they're getting it. They're going to meetings. They're working the steps. They're calling me, and they're building a network, and all the things that we suggest that they do. And I think, they're getting it. And I get really excited, and then bing, bang, boom, they're out. And I don't hear from them. And I've had a lot of sponsees at any given time, and now I probably have 2 that are active in recovery. And I don't call my sponsees the ones who show up at a meeting every 6 months and say, hi, how you doing? Because that's not what I did when I was a sponsee, and I still don't do that today. But I always get mad at this disease, and I thank God it wasn't easy for me, but when I got here, I just clung to it. I tease about it, and I say, when I got here, it was like all my life I walked around with this umbilical cord, and I was plugging it into the burnouts. I plugged it in here, and I plugged it in there, and it never fit. And I got to Narcotics Anonymous. I plugged it in, I was like, phew, it fits, and I've been able to stay, and I've been able to stay connected, and I haven't gone for any periods of time without Narcotics Anonymous being a major part of my life. Because I go to meetings and I listen to people say, I stopped going to meetings, I got miserable, I lost my job, I lost this, I lost that. Well, hello, I'm not an idiot. I can learn from your experience, although a lot of times I choose not to, but more than not, I listen, and what that tells me is if I stay involved, then I can keep on growing and changing, and anger isn't a problem for me because of that, I believe. Now, if I didn't do all those things that I do, I believe that I'd probably be a much angrier person. But over the years, I've just seen a whole lot of growth, and by working the steps, that's where the answer to all my problems are, all my defects, everything that I want to change, everything I don't like. All I got to do is keep on working those steps, and or they'll work you. I mean, that's what I heard. And those defects have been removed, and when I get it, when there's something active in my life, and whether it be anger or lust or jealousy or envy or something, all I have to do is ask God to take it, and He'll take it. Now, my God is all that. He is more than I could ever describe to anybody. He's just my higher power. He doesn't have to be anybody else's, but He can do a whole lot of things that I just never thought possible. And when I'm dealing with my defects, any of them, and I just say, God, I can't handle it, and I need for you to. Do you know that is gone almost immediately? I mean, it's almost like I can see it being taken out of my life. But you have to ask, and I did. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you I don't get angry, because I do. It's funny, because after I was asked to do this meeting, there was quite a few things that happened, one after the other, and I said, I guess I have more anger in my recovery going on right now, and, everything happens for a reason. But, I don't know, it's ironic how things happen like that. I could sit up here and talk about 10 different topics, and I'm supposed to be right here doing this meeting now, so I need to be grateful for that, and I'm grateful that the committee asked me. I was talking about sponsees and getting angry. I don't ever direct my anger to any person. I used to. And for a long time in recovery, if I did get angry, the first thing out of my mouth would be negative words, a lot of cussing going on, and that's something I've worked on over the years. But I tell you, it's my most dangerous weapon I have are the words that come out of my mouth. What I was taught, and I came in here and I shared that I'd pop is what I'd say. I'd pop off. I'd get mad and I'd pop off. And people say, well, why don't you start thinking before you speak? Because if somebody pissed me off, I could say something that would really hurt their feelings. And then I'm responsible to making amends. And I don't know about any of y'all, but I don't like making amends over and over and over again. It's like, how many times do you want to apologize to the same person or apologize for the same thing? I don't like carrying resentments. There's little cliches that they say that, carrying a resentment is like peeing down your leg. You're the only one who feels it. I believe that. You walk around and it's not comfortable. I'm not trying to be in that position today, and that's why I keep doing the things that I do. I don't know. It's funny. There was this guy named Richard Y. from our area in Central Maryland, who shared years ago about this leather jacket syndrome. And he said he came in off the street with this leather jacket, And it's like a story or an analogy or something. And he said, whenever he got any feelings, he didn't want anybody to know. He put his leather jacket on. And one day, after a whole lot of growth and a whole lot of changing, he decided to take that leather jacket off and leave it off and expose himself to you people. And I heard this, and I totally could relate to what he was saying. It's like when I want you to think I'm doing all fine and well, I just come in here bebopping around, happy peppy me. And when I'm not all happy and peppy, people say, "What's going on? Where's our happy peppy Deanne?" Because that's my little nickname back at home, because that's usually how I am, like 90% of the time. And they talk about practicing these principles in all our affairs, so that I seriously try to do in my life. But I tell people, because there's girls in my area who have made comments like, "How come your life looks so perfect?" And I was like, follow me to work one day. Follow me home one day. Because it's not always that great. But for the most part, my life is absolutely wonderful, and I couldn't even imagine it getting any better. And I said that probably 5 years ago, too. And it continuously gets better. When I deal with anger in recovery, the one thing I try not to do is put it back into me, because what I do immediately is I beat myself down. I'm worthless all over again. My self-esteem is back to zero. All these things that I've worked on over the years, like real quick, go downhill. And so what I try to do is I try to express my anger, and I call my sponsor or somebody that's in my network, and I talk about what I'm feeling. I'm not afraid anymore to tell you how I feel. I went into a meeting 2 Fridays ago, and I had like absolutely the worst day of my life at my job. And I don't care. It's not like dumping grounds or anything, but this particular night I had to dump. And I just bawled like a baby. I've never cried so hard that I know of in recovery. And I was doing it in a meeting in front of everybody who sees me every single Friday night. And I was like, God, I'm like totally revealing myself to these people. And after I was done, I said, what did I do that for? Because I really didn't want to reveal myself to you, because I'd rather you think that I'm happy peppy Deanne all the time, and I'm not, And so when I left that meeting, I had 3 different women come up to me. My husband got upset because we were the last ones to leave the parking lot, which usually happens when I'm going through something. And he said, "How come we're always the last to leave?" I said, "Because my stuff right now is too important for me to hurry up out of here to get to a restaurant." And that's where I was at that particular evening. And the program works exactly like it's supposed to. I shared what I was feeling, and I got feedback on how to work through it, how to get over it. My favorite song that came out in the past couple years, of course, is the Eagles' "Get Over It," because I tell that to people all the time when they're bitching or complaining about something. I said, just get over it, like the Eagles say. And all the time I have to turn that right back on myself and say, you better use your own advice, because I'm not in here to be a preacher to anybody, and I better use my own advice, because it's going to come back on me and haunt me one day if I don't. But I don't know. I'm probably going to get confused a few times up here because I'm kind of nervous. It's not like it's the first time this has happened to me. I was confused when I got here. It's cleared up a little bit. But, I was really counting. See, my sponsor did tell me a fib. She didn't mean to, but she told me that most people are going to be at dinner right now, so I was real comfortable with this being a 5 o'clock meeting.
What we thought, too.
Yeah. And this room's just continued to fill up. And there's a really good meeting down the hall. And one thing I do like about doing meetings, any meetings, whether they're at home or they're up here, is I always look out into the crowd and I see smiling faces. People don't even have a clue who I am, and they love me anyway. And, that's a miracle for real, because I'm just going to say this for me, because I was thinking about, right before the meeting, I was thinking about taking off my vest and putting it on the back of my chair, and because I don't want people to judge me. And, people are going to judge me if they want to, or if they don't, it doesn't matter really. I'm only here to share my experience, strength, and hope, and if somebody wants to judge me because I'm wearing a motorcycle vest or whatever, a leather vest, that's fine. But I live for my dreams to be filled today, and I had a dream when I was an adolescent, before I was even a teenager, that one day I wanted to ride a motorcycle. And what recovery has shown me that is anything. And I've done probably 100 different things I thought I'd never be able to do. But one of them was to ride a motorcycle. And people told me, you can do anything you want to do in recovery as long as you're willing to pay the consequences. So it started off by taking the safety course. And then 4 years later, I had the idea to go ahead and buy a motorcycle, and did. And And now I have my second motorcycle, and you just wouldn't believe we rode 16 hours to get here on our motorcycles, and it's just a feeling that you would never believe unless you did it. And we tell people all the time, it's like in the wind is in the wind, and all I did the whole time was just think about recovery. And it wasn't all good stuff. It was bad stuff, too. I've thought about friends of mine that have been killed in recovery, the diseases killed them or whatever. But I can stand up here today, and I can tell you who I am. And if anybody wants to judge me, that's okay, because it doesn't hurt me anymore unless you just come up to me and tell me, like, you're taking my inventory and all this. that might hurt my feelings a little bit, but this is it. I'm DEANNE. I'm an addict, and that's all I have to say to anybody in any of these rooms, 9 times out of 10, to get open arms for a hug. And that's what I love about Narcotics Anonymous. Nobody has ever told me I wasn't welcome. Nobody has ever told me that I couldn't keep coming back. People have told me when I wasn't doing the right thing, and I had to make some changes in my life. And they said, and if you don't, you won't be able to stick around just because your own doings. And so I made those changes that I needed to make over a period of time. But, I tell you one thing, I did not get what I have in here overnight. It has taken exactly every single day up until today to get what I have in here, and it's still a daily thing. It doesn't happen for me, I believe, 1 minute sooner than it's supposed to. I was talking to somebody earlier, and she was comparing her life with my life, and I said, why do you do that? And I think we're like creatures of habit. We just do it because we do it. And I told her, I said, well, let me tell you about a girl at home that I compare my life to. She's probably 8 years younger. She owns a house. She's married. She's got 2 kids. Perfect job, perfect husband. Okay. And I don't have all that, And I told her, I said, we can always find somebody who's doing better than us to compare ourselves to. And the bottom line is that I have to be happy in my skin. I have to go home to my bed, get under the covers, and sleep in my skin and be able to fall right asleep. And when I'm not doing the right thing and I'm acting out on my resentments, I'm in that bed for a half hour, 45 minutes thinking about, oh, God, another amends. Oh, God, I got to go see her again. And all these things that I did wrong that day. And that's why the steps have been such an important part of my life, because knowing that I'm going to have to do a 10-step every day, I think, well, I'm not going to load it up so I have a full page of stuff I have to do tonight and think about and, apologize for. So I'm just going to do, like, the basics a minute by a minute. And my life today, I just couldn't tell you how wonderful it is. Like, I joke about it, when I got here I had no self-esteem, and now I have low self-esteem, and that's like on the upward thing. It's going up. And I mean, there's all sorts of little things that I like saying just because they're just for a little laugh or something, but I like laughing in recovery. I got here, I was miserable. The room that I slept in for the first couple of weeks when I got clean was a dark room with dark carpet, dark wood walls, curtains drawn, and I felt like a hermit or a mole or something. I just lived in such a dark, desolate life. And the drugs I used didn't matter. It's how it made me feel. And I got here and I was a shell. I didn't feel like anything. And when people wanted to hug me, I thought to myself, you must not know who I am or what I'm about, because if you did, you certainly wouldn't want to hug me. Because I was worthless. I think most of us felt that way. I can't speak for anybody but myself. But what Narcotics Anonymous has given me over the years is answers to all my questions and answers to all my problems. And if I didn't have the problems, then I wouldn't have the answers. So I have to keep going through stuff, and it's like a roller coaster sometimes. And other cliches or stories that I've heard, they said it's like a bus ride. You can be the passenger, you can go along for the ride, enjoy the scenery, or you can get off at any stop you want, which is like relapsing, and I'm not trying to be there because I don't know that I would survive out there today. But I just prefer to go along for the ride, and God's doing the driving, so I don't have to worry about the route He's taking. He's doing just fine without my instructions, And I believe that my recovery continues to go the same way as long as I'm continuously being willing. When things come up, like I said earlier, I don't hold anything in anymore. I try to talk about how I'm feeling. I'll call my sponsor, and I even said something to her yesterday. I got angry at a little teeny situation, and I said, you know what? I'm only responsible for me. I am not responsible for anybody else. And until I have kids, then that's when I become responsible for somebody else. But in the meantime, it's only me that I have to worry about, and I try not to hurt anybody's feelings. I try to do the right thing, and not the next right thing, because I think that's a cop-out. That's just my opinion. But I hear a lot of people say, I'm going to do the next right thing. And I said, why not just do the right thing? Most of us know what the right thing is. And because I get these little churning in my guts, in my guts when I'm doing the wrong thing or when I'm thinking about doing the next right thing. I know what the right thing to do is, and I know when I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings or say something I shouldn't say. And there's been times, it still happens, and it's not going to stop happening because I got a certain amount of days clean. These things are going to continuously happen, and I'm going to continue to either do the right thing or not. And if I do the right thing, I'm going to grow from it, I'm going to feel good about it, and if I don't do the right thing, I'm going to feel like crap, and I'm going to have to do another amends. And I already said I don't like making amends a whole lot, so, the least mistakes I make, the better for me. So, like, the less apologies I have to worry about later. And, I made a part of a financial amends a few days ago, and I thought this person was going to be really angry with me, and he wasn't angry, and I walked out of that situation feeling really, really good, and I went to a meeting, and I shared about it, and this was one of those days that I thought I was going to, like, pop from being happy, and some people in my area probably don't like it when I share because I share all the time. And most of the time I'm sharing like so happy I'm going to pop. And, they're just like, shut up. You just, because I do share too much, but that's all right because usually it's the good stuff. But I shared that I made this financial amends, and I went and I signed up to go to school. And I've been fighting with this for 8.5 years, and I just finally Tuesday became a student. And the reason I did it is because I've heard other people talk about going to school. And just recently, 2 women in my area graduated from school, and I just thought, God, I want to feel what they're feeling right now, what they were sharing, how they felt. And they told me when I got here, if you want what we got, do what we do. And, it's like, okay, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out they got a diploma because they went to school. So if I want a diploma, I got to go to school. I didn't have a real good time in high school. All I did was get high, and it was a miracle I got out. The only reason, I have to tell you this is funny, the only reason I graduated from high school is because my dad bet me $100 I couldn't. And I had to get that $100. I know you understand, because it's like the spite thing. He called me every name in the book all my life, and I failed 10th grade twice, and I had to get a night school for a year and summer school, and I had to get a job to pay for it because they wouldn't, because it was my fault. And my little brother was getting ready to graduate, and my dad said, you're not going to graduate. And I said, bet me. My little smart-ass mouth. He said, all right, I'll bet you $100 you won't graduate. I said, bet, and we shook hands. And August of 1985, I got my diploma. And out of the same high school I should have graduated out a year earlier. And I guess some of that stems from anger, too, because my dad used to whip my ass for years and years and years. Today they call it child abuse. Then it was just I was getting disciplined. That's how my dad learned it. But mine was, maybe it was on the line, because it wasn't fun. But I tell you, I did everything I could despite him for years and years and years. And it was like a miracle for some reason. When I turned 18 years old, I wasn't clean yet by far, but something snapped, and I realized he did the best he could do. He didn't do it to hurt me personally. He didn't do it just because he didn't pick me out of the other 5 siblings I have and just say she's going to have it the worst. That wasn't how it was. I did things, and I deserved to, get my ass whipped, and that's what happened. But when it came to him telling me I was never going to amount to anything, and I was always going to be the same piece of shit that I was, I had to prove him different. And that's okay, because today I have a wonderful relationship with my father, and he thinks it's great that I'm in recovery. He doesn't really understand. And when I first got clean, he came to my first anniversary, and he heard my sponsor talk about shooting dope, and he was just like, you should. His eyes were like this big on his head. He looked like an alien or something. But he said he got up. Well, I called on him at the end, and I said, I don't know if he wants to say anything or not, but I've made his life miserable for the past 20 years, and it's amazing. He got up and he said, I couldn't say it as profound as he did, but everybody in the room was clapping. He got up and he said, just from what I've seen happen to my daughter in the past year, and from what I've seen and heard tonight, I can tell you that Fort Knox has nothing on Narcotics Anonymous, because you're worth more than all the gold in it. And I think that was probably one of the most special things my father ever said in his whole entire life that I ever heard. And because he actually saw and felt what we had going on in here. And it's truly a miracle. Like I said, he only thought I drank Jack Daniels too much. He didn't think I was doing anything else. He couldn't keep it in the house because it would go right straight in my belly. And when he was hearing me share my story at my anniversary, because that's the way we do it there, he just kept shaking his head, and I kept looking at him going, oh, God, why am I saying this? Because he was hearing all this stuff I was just telling on myself over and over again. And that's why I work my amends, because over the years I've been able to stay clean and tell him, just that I love him. And he'll tell me that that's like the best thing you can do for our relationship is just, stay clean for yourself and continue to love yourself and work on yourself. And it's just a miracle to see where I came from as a kid, getting my ass whipped on a regular basis, to where I am today in recovery and in this relationship with my father. And I'm not angry at him anymore. And I think that's the biggest blessing of all, is that I don't have to harbor resentments anymore. Like I said already, he did the very best he could do with what he had. He was one of 17 kids. He was the youngest, and he got it a lot worse than I'm sure I ever did. Because back in the day when they were growing up, that's just how it was. And I've told him plenty of times that I love him, and I don't hold anything against him anymore for any of the stuff that happened to me when I was growing up. Just anger's a dangerous thing for me. It's a luxury I cannot afford to have in my life. I've seen angry people in recovery, and I've been one. And I don't like being in them shoes, and I feel sorry for people who stay in them shoes, because it doesn't have to be like that. You can give it to God if you have a God, and if you don't, you can borrow mine, And I say that, too, because there's a lot of times when newcomers, are confused with situations that happen in their lives, and they say, why? And I said, I don't know. But, if you're not there yet in the steps, as far as getting a God of your understanding, you're more than welcome to borrow mine or anybody else's in this room. You're not alone. You don't have to feel like you're alone. I don't know, it's just a miracle that any one of us can come in here and say anything we need to say, be welcomed, look however we look, do whatever we do. And Narcotics Anonymous, those doors are always going to be open for me. I'm grateful that I haven't had to go back out. I've seen people go back out. We had a girl in our area not too long ago go out, and I think she was coming up on 10 or 11 years, and she went out, and I just, that blows my mind. I was like, why would you give up everything that you've gotten? Why would you, just like throw it all back in God's face? That's just not where I am, so I just can't understand it. But I had compassion for her and empathy, and I welcomed her back into Narcotics Anonymous, and I said, I hope you get it. And she just celebrated a year, and that's a miracle, because she was fighting it for about a year just coming in and out. And what I've told people that have come in and out is that you don't have to keep going in and out, because, one of these days your number might get pulled, and you might not have the opportunity to come back. And I don't want that number to be mine to be pulled. If it's going to be pulled, I'd rather be pulled somewhere else, but not because I'm using. I don't know. That's about it out of me. I'm really grateful that I'm here. I'm really grateful that I'm done, and thank you for letting me share.